Wow. What a night of fights. Okay, welcome back to the post-fight. Or welcome back. This is the first ever post-fight podcast on the Connells Combat Pod. And wow, what a night of fights to cover. So, without any further ado, let's just get straight into the main event. Poirier and Oliveira, and still Charles Oliveira submits Dustin Poirier in the third round. Like, really early in the third round, just jumped on his back. Man, Oliveira, unbelievable. His evolution is just insane. From someone who quit against Paul Felder to someone who just walks down Michael Chandler, one of the hardest hitters in the sport, and Dustin Poirier just walking him down. And in that first round, Poirier was tagging him a lot, but Oliveira kept going to that clinch and kept landing those knees to the body and was throwing nice front kicks and didn't seem too phased, except for that one time that he got dropped in the first round where it just grazed like the edge of his face and snapped his head back good and he went down. But man, Oliveira just walking him down hands high, like Joe Rogan was going on and on and on about. His technique is just so crisp. Everything is so sharp. His left hook, beautiful. His straight rights, beautiful. His front kicks, all of it is just all crisp and perfect, technically. Poirier in the first round, tagging him with shots as Oliveira was coming in, but Oliveira just kept moving forward. How much Poirier loves that switching combo. He throws it all the time, man. He was just going over and over to it. And Oliveira wasn't really finding a way to counter it. He was just backing up on straight lines, getting tagged because of that. He wasn't moving his head side to side a lot of straight back movement. And that's kind of always how Oliveira's been. But he kind of slips off to the outside well. He doesn't slip inside a lot, but he kind of just subtly slips outside to take some of the sting off of punches. Like, he'll do that with jabs a lot and then come back. And then in the second round, Oliveira ended up getting a takedown. He just stayed on top in full guard. And Poirier seemed content to just stay there. The pace in the first round was insane. So my guess was Poirier was resting. But he said it in the post-fight interview. He didn't want to risk scooting to the fence. He said he looked back and saw the fence and it was too far away to scoot to, because a lot of Poirier's defense in terms of getting up is wall walking, as a lot of ATT fighters specifically, but it's kind of a meta in MMA, the meta in MMA to wall walk. So he looked back, saw the fence was a little too far for him to put that much effort into scooting back, and in order to scoot back, you need to shrimp, push away, and that would give an opportunity for Oliveira to get into better position on the ground than just full guard, because the submissions from full guard are pretty limited in terms of the guy who's on top. Oliveira was posting and landing these nice elbows. He was digging his forearm into Dustin's neck and then landing elbows. He wasn't cutting Poirier up with those elbows, but he was just kind of smashing elbows. And he didn't expend himself too much, just won the round securely. And then into the third round, and Charles Oliveira moves forward. He gets in his face. He ducks under and gets the outside foot and just jumps on the back, has a body lock, brings him against the cage. And then he really jumps on the back, gets a hook in, and then just hand fighting from Oliveira, just beautiful hand fighting. I couldn't really see the exact sequence because it was right against the cage, but he readjusted it like 3 different times and eventually sunk it in. Every time it getting closer and closer. At first it was just against the face, and then it would slowly get to under the neck. Just clinical. You can't let Oliveira get your back. But when he does it that fast, just ducking under a punch, body lock, and then boom, he's on your back with hooks in, it's hard to avoid. He's such a dangerous fighter. he was counted out. But your boy predicted. Show the clip, roll the clip.
Man, this fight is so close. I think Oliveira is being overlooked. I don't know. I just see this image in my head of Oliveira winning and Poirier being devastated because this was his chance and how devastated he was after that Khabib loss. When everyone thought he was going to lose. Like, not everyone, but when he was favored to lose in that one. But now he's favored to win, and I just have this image in my head of Poirier being so distraught and Oliveira winning. Either catching him on the feet, surprising him, or subbing him. I think Oliveira's at a new level right now, and obviously Poirier's at the top of his game as well. But I just think Oliveira's going to be a little bit too much for him. I think I'm going to go with Charles Oliveira, and I think he's going to finish him because Oliveira's a finisher.
I'm going to be referencing a lot to my predictions that I did on my first podcast because it was a good night for me in my predictions. Other than Nunes, I guess that's a good transition point, and new Julianna Pena. What the hell just happened? Nunes opened up with good calf kicks, an ATT staple. Pena seemed calm in there. Like, she didn't seem that nervous. She seemed like she believed everything she was saying, and I guess it makes sense that she believed everything she was saying because she was saying it. But, man, she was calm. In the first round, Nunes engaged in the grappling exchange after landing some decent leg kicks. Pena stayed safe on the bottom from any ground and pound or anything like that by going for this Kimura, and she kept this Kimura, which kept Amanda in check, and Nunes ended the round on top. Then we go into the second round, and Pena just starts going forward and throwing 1-2s over and over. The same combination. She would mix a left hook in to start, but always friggin' 1-2. And Pena started tagging Nunes, and then Nunes' ego a little bit got affected, and she started standing in the pocket and throwing that overhand right. But what Pena was doing so well is when Pena would jab, she wasn't jabbing here, she wasn't jabbing low, she was jabbing and ducking off to the side, getting her shoulder, like her left shoulder, to block the overhand right that Nunes loves so much, that she tagged Cyborg with, she tagged everyone with. That's one of her favorite punches, just over the top, and it comes over the shoulder. But Pena, in those exchanges, she was doing it so well. She would duck and keep her shoulder protecting her, and then throw the 2 right after. Started tagging her bad. She hurt her a couple times, and Nunes was landing some good shots too. She wasn't blocking every shot with that shoulder. Julianna Pena got a big swelling under her left eye because she was just in there, but she wasn't going anywhere. She just stayed in her face, and I'm sure Nunes was just like, what's going on? I hit girls like this, they start backing up and they start falling. So Pena, just amazing toughness. Can't say I expected that at all. Usually going into these big underdog fights when Valentina or Nunes is fighting, I like to get super optimistic for the opponent. Like with Megan Anderson, I was like, yeah, she's too big, she'll keep her at bay with a jab, but obviously not. But this time I was like, yeah, there's no way Pena's winning. Nunes is going to win. And look what happened. Craziest sport in the world. I still can't believe it. I think Nunes just broke when she saw that Pena wasn't falling over. Bro. What? If you can't tell what's happening, my dog is having a nightmare. Maestro, you okay? You okay, big guy? That's a scary nightmare, eh? Holy. He's alive. That's good. He was having a nightmare there. Sorry. This podcast a little scuffed. I assumed it's pretty late. I think Nunes just was so confused that Pena wasn't dropping, right? And Pena was just there in her face, and then she got the body lock takedown and got a choke in with no hooks, like just like the choke that you get on your cousin. It was weird, but either way, Pena, amazing win, crazy upset, deserves all the love and attention I'm sure she will be receiving. Okay, so straying away from the title fights, we go to Jeff Neal and Santiago Ponzinibbio. Now, I picked Santiago to win this fight by decision, but Jeff Neal started off the fight well. He landed a nice high kick that cut Ponzinibbio on his right eyebrow. What Jeff Neal was doing really well is he was doing that outside foot. Like, he was fighting the outside foot battle. He was trying to get outside foot position and throw left hands down the pipe and left high kicks. But again, very isolated attack from Jeff Neal. It's mostly left hands. He was landing a good check right hook, which I don't remember seeing a ton of when Ponzinibbio was leaning in with his 1-2. Jeff Neal couldn't miss with that check right hook. So yeah, Jeff Neal looked good in that first round, and then I think Ponzinibbio won the second. It was really close. I think the only round that was clear for me was 1. 3 was close up until Jeff Neal started tagging him at the end of the round. So I think Jeff Neal deserved to win that fight. Ponzinibbio was doing good, but man, he needs to go to the body a little bit. I think the commentators read that it was only 4 body shots that Ponzinibbio had thrown, and it was the second round or something like that. He was going to the head a lot, and Jeff Neal was just guarding high. It was all of his focus was high. His elbows were high, blocking. You got to mix it up, go to the body, mix up the targets, right? So yeah, decent performance from Jeff Neal. Would like to see some more attacks from him. Ponzinibbio was landing good inside low kicks. That seemed to have an effect on Jeff Neal as well. If Jeff Neal can try to vary his striking instead of being so one-dimensional with that left hand, left high kick, right hook, mix in some front kicks, mix in body kicks. He wasn't throwing a lot of body kicks, leg kicks. I don't remember one leg kick, which I get because of the opposite stance dynamic, but you saw Ponzinibbio landing good inside leg kicks. So, I don't know. You just got to mix it up to be one of those top guys, especially in welterweight, lightweight, in those stacked divisions. You can't just be a one-trick pony. So, yeah, Jeff Neal wins. And then we go to Kai Kara-France versus Cody Garbrandt. Boy, did I get this prediction right. I said Kai Kara-France via second round knockout, I think, on my podcast, but when I was picking on Verdict, shout out Verdict, I picked Kai Kara-France first round knockout. I don't know. I thought Garbrandt would be a little chinny, but Kai Kara-France hit him with good shots. That overhand right was working every single time for Kai Kara-France. Anytime he wanted to throw it and he landed it, Garbrandt couldn't see it. He was extending his hand out to top it. It was a weird thing, and it just came over the top every time. Landed clean whenever Kai Kara-France wanted it. And Garbrandt didn't look terrible. He looked fast. He looked lean in shape. But if he keeps suffering knockout losses like this, in his last fight against Rob Font, he showed a good chin. In this fight, he got hit with just clean shots. And anyone at 125, I think, getting hit by Kai Kara-France like that over and over with those overhand rights every single time is going to go down. So it's not so much a chin thing, I think, at least. That'll be the story because he's dropping down a division, and when people drop down in weight, they lose their chin, right? But I don't think that was the case. I think Kai Kara-France was just better, and he was just finding that overhand right whenever he wanted. And Kai Kara-France was trying these combos that TJ landed, which was super cool to see. He's doing the team at City Kickboxing are looking over all that stuff. Kai Kara-France tried to land rolling left high kicks the way that TJ landed it on Garbrandt. So yeah, it was just cool performance by Kai Kara-France, and he should fight Pantoja or Manel Cape to get that flyweight division figured out, because they have a title fight with Figueiredo and Moreno. Yeah, flyweight's a little interesting. And then we go to O'Malley versus Paiva. What happened was what I kind of expected. Paiva really lunging in face first with a right hand a few times. O'Malley was looking for that pullback counter. He couldn't find it, but he just blasted overhand right and wobbled him against the fence and just unloaded a boxing combo on him. And yeah, just KO'd Paiva. I think it's time for O'Malley to get a considerable step up. I understand that they want to build his name, but what is he on right now? A 3-fight KO streak? You got to move him up. You got to get him fighting ranked guys. I know he's the unranked bantamweight champ or whatever, but if he just keeps fighting these unranked guys, he's going to lose his validity, I think. Get him in there against like a Frankie Edgar. I don't know if you want to do that, because Edgar's on that 2-fight KO streak, but that seems like a matchup that could work. Edgar versus O'Malley. Test his grappling a little bit if you want to test his, like if you actually want to test his grappling. And then the Emmet versus Ige fight. Emmet dropped him a minute in. Emmet is so powerful. Emmet reminds me a lot of Michael Chandler. That wide stance, hands down, throwing big bombs, and he hits hard just like Chandler does. And a minute in, he hit Ige with an overhand right through the guard and dropped him. Ige didn't look wobbled or dazed or anything. I think it just kind of like, whoa, this guy can hit hard. And then he went down, he recovered, he got a takedown afterwards. But Emmet definitely won that round. And then Ige came back in the second round, was finding his jab really nice. He was timing it well, and he landed a nice short left hook. His left hook looked really good in this fight as well. His boxing in general looked good. Landed a short left hook that kind of stunned Emmet. I think Ige won that round, 1-1. Going into the final round, Ige had more volume, and Emmet landed some good power punches in that third round. The third round was really close, but I think Ige won it on volume. But Emmet won. It was really close. It's what you value more. I thought that Ige was just more active and landed a ton of jabs. And then we go to Cruz versus Munhoz. Dominic fucking Cruz. Let's go, baby. He looked amazing. He looked like vintage Cruz, and the opponent that he got was good for that, because, like Dominic even said, it's like a really orthodox fighter. Not that flashy. Throws leg kicks, throws hands, and is kind of flat-footed. And Dominic Cruz exposed that after getting dropped by a jab, leaning in. He did one of his drop shift type of movements, and he slid in, and Munhoz just backed up, no telegraph on the jab, and it just clipped his chin perfectly, snapped his head. Cruz goes down, and Mark Goddard let him recover. Keith Peterson probably would have stopped it. Yeah, Mark Goddard did a good job letting that fight go on, because in the second round, even in the after that, in the first round, Cruz, just footwork looked really good. Looping punches, the Cruz type of deal. Just looked like vintage Cruz. His head movement was great. After the second round, he was avoiding shots really well, getting out of the way. His kicks have always never been really, flexible, or he doesn't look comfortable throwing kicks, really. They're kind of labored, but he gets them up there. He was landing good low kicks and was getting out of the way of Munhoz's low kicks, as I expected. Munhoz kind of flat-footed. I felt like he would have a hard time landing those low kicks against Dominic because of the movement. And yeah, when people fight Dominic Cruz, they kind of get this mindset of headhunting a little bit. And I think he got away from the game plan of kicking the legs a little bit too much. But when he did try to kick the legs, Cruz was doing a good job at mitigating the damage. So, yeah, second and third round was all Cruz. I got to watch that fight back because I just loved it. I wrote this down as I was watching the fight. He was freezing Munhoz. And Aljamain Sterling did a similar thing to Pedro Munhoz. He just threw a bunch of shit at him, was switching kicks, punches, kind of similar to Dominic Cruz. Aljamain's got a little bit of Dominic Cruz in his striking. And I think Dominic did the same thing, really. He was kind of freezing him with his movement, and he was throwing like 4 or 5 punch combos, boop, hook, straight down the pipe. His 1-2 was looking good. Yeah, vintage Dominic Cruz. Super slick, love it. And then we go to Tuivasa and Augusto Sakai. Man, Augusto Sakai is really patient, isn't he? He barely threw anything in that whole fight. Tuivasa just found the left hook on the counter, I think it was, after Sakai threw a 1-2, I want to say. Or maybe it was just a 2, but it was just a left hook over the top. Clipped him on the temple, swarmed him against the fence, and yeah, heavyweight things, you know? And he clipped him with the one that knocked him out, right on the chin. Oof. Fell back on his leg, Crow Cop style. More Miocic style against Ngannou, where the leg completely folds back and you're just looking at his knee and it's like, oof. So, yeah, falling unconscious with heavyweights, all the body weight ripping on that knee, that can't be good. Yeah, then he gets up on the cage, gets a shoe from Steve Will Do It. How does that guy not get sick more often? He's chugging beers out of people's shoes as he's leaving the arena. He must be immune to all infections. And then we go on to Jordan Wright versus Bruno Silva. Another prediction I got right. Tuivasa prediction I got right too. I'm gonna keep track of my prediction record. Yeah, Bruno Silva didn't start off great. Jordan Wright likes the tie clinch a lot. He did it in his first fight against Ike Villanueva and threw these like jumping knees, and he did it in his third fight, his second win in the promotion, and he had Bruno Silva against the fence after landing some good knees, and Bruno Silva just kind of winged punches over the top of the tie clinch, started to land them, and then clipped him with this last one. Wright was hurt. He went down. He was rolling around, trying to find a leg, trying to just recover, but Silva just swarmed. He did a good job at not overextending, so Wright could maintain a guard or anything like that. He was staying at a distance, punching, keeping his balance, and yeah, Herb Dean got in there, stopped it. I don't know, I just think Jordan Wright's a little chinny, a little too available to be hit. It didn't go exactly how I thought with Silva unloading boxing combinations against the fence and getting a finish, but I don't know. I just saw Wright a little available for Silva, so yeah, solid win. And then Muniz versus Anders, and wow, Andre Muniz could be a problem. Get him in there against Adesanya right now. There are not a lot of solid grapplers in the middleweight division other than obviously Derek Brunson and Jack Hermanson. But no, obviously Whitaker's a good grappler, but no one who really pursues it. And this guy's jiu-jitsu, specifically his arm bars from the back, really solid. He timed a beautiful double leg. His timing on his double leg against Jacare and Eric Anders was just phenomenal. Both times, in both fights, timed these beautiful double legs. This one, he lifted Anders off his feet and just slammed him down. Just sick. Eventually, he got to the back. He slid off the top and then scooped the arm and did the exact same thing he did to Jacare Souza, to Eric Anders. But instead of ending up on his back, like Muniz ending up on his back, he ended up belly down, tucked it, and yeah, you got to tap then, or else you're getting your arm ripped apart. So Muniz, I think that's 3 straight armbar victories, which is amazing. And yeah, that's a scary prospect right there. His stand-up he looked decent on the feet. He landed a good low kick. Obviously, if he can just time that double leg like he has been, then he's chilling. And then we go Miranda Maverick against Erin Blanchfield. And wow, was I wrong about Miranda Maverick having a grappling advantage, because Blanchfield put on a grappling clinic against Miranda Maverick. Amazing grappling. Looked super smooth in all of the transitions. She was threatening the Kimura a lot. Just dominant performance wrestling. And her corner in between the second and the third round was like, you're grappling too much. You should try and stand up more. And I was like, what? But maybe they meant you're grappling too much on the ground, like focus on ground and pound more. I think maybe that's what he was getting at. But then the other coach was like, yeah, stand up. And I was like, get it to the ground where you're absolutely dominating. Miranda Maverick couldn't stop the takedown. In the first round, Blanchfield had upwards of 3 minutes of control time, and she was like 5 for 5 on her first 5 takedowns, and I think she finished 7 for 8. But 22 years old, Erin Blanchfield, dominant win. And then we go to Ryan Hall versus Derek Minner, and the boy Ryan Hall winning another fight. And in this fight, I think he was a little less bouncy on his feet, like less hook kicks and spinning kicks. Whenever he goes to orthodox, he likes the hook kick. Whenever we get in punching distance, Ryan Hall, per usual, he would dive in on a leg. And he was doing that same leg attack that he was doing against Ilya. But Derek Minner wasn't doing as well as Ilya was to avoid that leg attack. And he survived 2 rounds of submission attacks from Ryan Hall. In the second round, specifically, Minner took Hall down and stayed in his full guard. Hall was just not taking any damage at all. And he was threatening the leg. And then he would get the triangle, but then he'd switch it to the wrong side. Like, his legs would be on the wrong side. It's like if someone who watched MMA knew what a triangle was, but didn't know which way to put it on. Like, he had his legs the wrong way. And I used to do that when I was first starting. Like, I didn't know which way to put my legs. I would get confused. It was weird, but he would do it, and he would get control. Obviously, I'm not implying that Ryan Hall doesn't know what he's doing. He knows how to put a triangle on. But it was just odd for me to look at because I don't really understand it. But he was putting it on a lot for control, I would think. And he was landing these good elbows while Derek Minner's head was stuck in there. Yeah, maintained really good control with it. Was content with that opposite triangle. It was weird. And a lot of leg attacks. But Minner was surviving. And then in the third round, Ryan Hall dove on a leg again. And eventually ended up in the mount, threatening an arm triangle choke, using his head really well. I was watching, I was like, man, this dude is... You just know he's strong as hell. But he was using his head as like a third limb, a third hand. And he was just gripping that arm triangle, keeping Minner's left arm up to his head. But he never committed to it. He just kind of was content to stay in mount and throw body shots to the open side. And yeah, Ryan Hall, decision win against Derek Minner. He's back on the win streak. He's back in the winning column. And then we go to Randy Costa versus Tony Kelley. Man, does he look good. He got right in Costa's face, primarily out of southpaw in the first round. Just getting in his face, switching with his punches like he likes to do, like I said. Costa was clinching to kind of halt the pressure that Kelley was putting on him. But man, he was putting a torrent pace on him. Not letting Costa establish his long-range weapons. Not a lot of head kicks from Costa. When he got the jab going, it was in the second round for a brief moment. But then Kelley was right back on him. Great pressure. Again, switching stances with the punches and just kind of bullying him around the octagon. And then Kelley, more of the pressure. Costa clinches. Kelley lands 4 good knees to the stomach of Randy Costa. And then Randy Costa shoots for a takedown. Gets sprawled on in half guard, and then Tony Kelley starts landing these big elbows to the body. He was landing elbows to the body and to the head, and he was just vicious ground and pound, going back from the body to the head to the body, and Costa wasn't moving. He was just staying there. So about 20 seconds of that goes by, and the fight gets stopped. Great performance from Tony Kelley. I didn't think he would win that fight, but I didn't think he'd get in his face from the onslaught and just walk him down. Great performance. And then the final fight, Robertson versus Cachoeira. Wow. Priscilla Cachoeira, kind of a cheater, kind of a bitch. Sorry to say it. Jillian started with some obvious takedowns like super obvious, out in the middle of the cage, just kind of running in. And Priscilla was stuffing those, but Priscilla was never really finding home for her striking. Robertson shot a nice timed double leg. It wasn't even that well timed. It was, now like that I'm thinking back at it, it was just kind of right after Priscilla punched. She kind of stood there for a second, and then Robertson shot a takedown. And as soon as it got to the ground, it was like Priscilla had never seen a jiu-jitsu gym before. Like she'd never heard of the Gracies before. She doesn't even know what BJJ stands for. She was just getting dominated. She made Julianna Robertson look like Habib. She's really just getting dominated on the ground easily. There was no chance for her once it got to the ground. Eventually, there was a weird transition where Julianna Robertson kind of just grabbed her neck, similar to the Julianna Pena finish. No hooks in, grabbed her neck, but then Priscilla fell, and then Jillian got one hook in, if I'm not mistaken, and it's under the chin, squeezing, with about 10 seconds left, and then Priscilla proceeds to start trying to gouge Jillian Robertson's eyes. Like, what are you doing? Gouging her eyes not once but twice. She tried it once with the finger, then went back with the thumb. And Jillian just closed her eyes. The ref was right there being like, what the hell are you doing? I'm right here. But with 1 second left, Priscilla taps, and frig, that was satisfying. Julianna Robertson, Canadian, had a girl. Fuck that bitch. She was trying to gouge your eyes out. What a whore. Maybe too far. Other than that, that's all the UFC 269 fights. It is 2:07 a.m. Vasily Lomachenko won his fight by unanimous decision. I've yet to watch it. I heard that he was yelling at the corner during the fight. He was yelling at Richard Commey's corner during the fight, saying to stop it. So clearly that's not... clearly it wasn't super competitive. But yeah, I have yet to watch that. Any other news? Oh, I wanted to mention a couple funny moments. When Jeff Neal's corner got riled up in between the second and the third round, and at one point said, and I quote, "Get in his ass." That's what he said. He said, "Get in his ass." What do you mean by that, my boy? My dog is having another nightmare. Maestro, did you watch a scary movie? If you made it to the end, thank you for watching. I'm gonna go to bed. I gotta go to church tomorrow. Bless up.